Spags, it's week 18. It's Friday. I am the cash game king. I'm also the underdog playoff best ball king. I'm feeling good about today's show and our special guest.
I'm not sure I've seen you get crowned as the underdog playoff king, but we'll try our best to get that coronation on today's show with Underdog's man behind the scenes and in front of the camera, Josh Norris, doing everything, helping get their content where it needs to be, doing the great jobs they are doing over there. We are going to do that playoff best ball draft. We're going to try to do some week 18 news. And I even did a little bit of research, Pete, got all the motivations and all the contractual things that are going to give us some extra edge, hopefully this weekend. And we will do our ride or die picks, even if Pete won't partake because of his cash game status. We will do them game by game for all the Saturday and Sunday games. So Pete, hit that intro. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Splash Play, the fantasy football podcast for every game under the sun. And once again, I'm Chris Spags, joined by your friend and mine, Peter Overzet, as well as today, Underdog's Josh Norris. Josh, how are you doing with that light back there that looks like a Beauty and the Beast character?
I will be honest. I mean, I don't know how much you want behind the scenes here. This is an actual brick background. That's one thing. So don't suggest that I just put a piece of wallpaper behind me. We ordered, as soon as we moved in here, these like custom blinds because these are two windows out into Brooklyn. I mismeasured one of them. And so even since September, do not have one of the blinds up. And that's why all this light is being sprayed out here. Look, it makes me translucent if I put my hand in my head too far over there. But we're going to make it work. How are you guys? It's week 18, almost at the end of the year.
You know, I was telling Josh before we went on, I was tilting because I had to do about 45 minutes of snow removal this morning. Had a very busy day. Wasn't enjoying carving out time for that. But yeah, doing well. What? Go ahead.
Pete, if you got sixth place in Best 182, you probably could have paid someone to remove that snow for you.
Yeah. A little known fact about that I was messaging Josh. You know, I thought we had seventh place locked up, and I log in the next day and saw we got stat corrected down to eighth, which I believe, what was that, a $5,000 swing?
Well, Hayden's on the West Coast. We don't know what he does tinkering around 3 a.m. at that time. Who knows what he did in the back end?
I did drafted us Michael
Karma, Pete.
Yeah.
Karma.
No, you know what, Pete? What could have happened? All it came down to was taking Rondale Moore over Damian Harris.
Oh my God. Don't start with me. Don't start with me.
I'm trying to get kicked out of the show as quickly as possible is what I'm trying to do right now.
Well, it is the thing. So the big thing from Sunday, and I, of course, had a lot of fun sweating that lineup that I drafted with Bime for, but Josh, the people were killing me wanting to see the live scoreboard.
I
mean, that has to be number one off-season underdog priority.
I mean, there are a lot of priorities this summer.
No, this is number one.
but that is definitely something that we want to do. In fact, we were planning on doing like a Twitter Spaces or something, but even it wasn't updating quick enough. But that's definitely something. I mean, isn't it crazy to think that Underdog is a year and a half into existence, and that's it? That's it.
Really?
So
it feels like it's been forever since you guys started rolling things out. I know you've been there now for a year and change, right?
No, less than a year. Only like 10 months.
Okay. Because we had you on when you just started. I think we literally got you on Splash Play like last year. I think
Spags is living in an alternate universe right now.
Yeah.
I don't think you had started yet.
No, I think you had me on like in September or August.
In my mind, it was like, Josh has started at Underdog, and now we're bringing him on. He's got his fancy new cameras.
Because what also feels like an eternity ago is we went out to Miami in May, right around the NFL draft. This was Josh coming off of his incredible mock draft victory that Willis is mentioning in the chat. He wanted us to start at 159 or 259 for the summer of 59 correct picks. But I mean, that feels so long ago. That was when BBM2 launched. We were there announcing the $1 million and $1 prize pool. Yep. And then we've come to the end.
Yeah. Like I said, either on Monday or Tuesday, I talked about having the greatest mock draft of all time for about 3 or 4 months this summer, receiving a grand total of $0 from that. So all of you who actually won actual money to your bank account every single week, Pete, with you guys on Tilt Space, like just shrugging off 10,000, $100,000 like it's no big deal. That is not me. I would be freaking out, shirts off, parties up, champagne popping every single weekend.
Well, here's the thing, Josh. You haven't seen our updated spreadsheets. We might have fired too hard at the Millie Maker contest last week, and we're now closer to break even because not all of us are Leone. Leone wins the Thunderdome on his own, and then we Galaxy brain the lineups together.
Yeah, Leone, Levitan, everyone just like acting it's in BD, no big deal. Whereas me staying up till 5 a.m. just popping 2 bottles of Prosecco just because I get some freaking draft picks correct for nothing.
You're trying to hide the shame of not having curtains in your studio.
Look, if I won some money, I'd be able to put this up, hire a TaskRabbit or something.
So make sure you're following at Josh Norris to give Josh the bump that he needs. I'm sure that only this show can provide to get you where you need to go. Make sure you are checking Underdog. And we got to give the plug to Football Outsiders. Of course, we are. I don't want to give it away. We've hinted at it enough on this show, but we are finally putting it to paper that we're doing some stuff on Football Outsiders with Underdog this year, as well as Splash Play. So excited for that. Make sure you're going to footballoutsiders.com/subscribe. Packages on there, 99 cents a week. That'll help make you make better lineup decisions, better betting decisions, all of that with the power of DVOA. So go to footballoutsiders.com/subscribe. But Josh, you had some big news I saw earlier. I think might have been this morning or last night. It all blurs together at this point. But our boy Trill, Tyler I Am, of course, doing a new show, doing a 3-hour Pat McAfee style show, I'll say, but coming for that former Barstool coworker money that I'm getting lapped by both Tyler and Pat McAfee on. That's exciting news. Tyler, if there ever were a man built to fill a 3-hour show on a daily basis, he is that man.
It is. He's one of those people on Twitter who something random pops up and he just has a different spin on it than anyone else. And being able to turn maybe a singular tweet into like a 5-minute segment to me is just going to be so much fun to watch on a daily basis. And so really, I think part of that show, we're still figuring out a lot of it, is just for him to scroll Twitter with everyone and react to everything as it's happening in real life. Yeah, that starts off January 17th, 3-hour show, 12 to 3. So if people want to search Trill Weathers Show with Trill Weathers, or go in Nick Rudman's or Tyler's Twitter feed, you can go and subscribe to that channel right now. 3 hours a day for sure.
That's obviously going to be a big initiative for you guys production wise. It's a lot of time in a given day, but anything else for 2022 you want to tease on here? Maybe give the people a little taste now that we're officially partnered and we can break news along with you here on the show.
Well, we already have 2022 best ball rolling. I can't wait. More people need to get involved with playoff best ball. I'm sure, Pete, you've done a couple drafts. I don't know if Spags, if you've done any yet. I mean, those things put your brain into a blender. Mine already is at this point in the year, but each draft is wildly, wildly different. I think what we want to do is just have, games going at all times for people to go and play on the app. And it's been so much fun just to see the different iterations and keeping up with the growth of the user base and even the team that we have here. We do have a lot of things going on behind the scenes, Spags. That's me kind of working around and not directly answering your question.
We're going to PR me on that one.
But no, there's a lot of good things down the pipe. Let's say that.
Yeah, definitely an exciting time to be on board there. So go check out Underdog, and we will be doing a playoff best ball draft in a little bit. But let's do some Week 18 news, and we can cover some of the softer items up top, and including one that has no real-life ramifications, no fantasy ramifications for this week. But the Jaguars interviewing, I think, is a noteworthy one. They're going to be interviewing the Cowboys offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, the Bucs offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich. And to the Jags fans' dismay, they are rallying on Twitter because Bill O'Brien is going to be the interview early next week after the college football playoff game, where he's currently on that Bama staff. And Pete, I don't know if you care much for Jags fans, but I'll let you say whatever you want here about this hiring process for them, and really an important one given what we've talked about with Trevor Lawrence and the disappointment that he's been this year.
I'm going to be completely honest with you, Spags. I've been laser focused on my Week 18 cash game shell. I have been laser focused on Underdog playoff drafts. And I have not been laser focused on what's going on with the Jags hiring process. And I report at this time, I have 0 takes on the matter.
Josh,
great way to start the show.
To the show here with your thoughts on the Jags hire.
That's been a good 9 minutes and 1 second here. Let's roll out. So a couple of things. I believe Bill O'Brien in his tenure as Texans head coach was 54 and 52. So a lot of times, like when head coaches are fired and then hired somewhere else, that new team is kind of hiring a proven loser. I don't want to boil it down to this, but on some level, Bill O'Brien's a proven winner. As weird as that sounds. Now, I think for him, what got him into trouble was obviously those drastic short-term general manager decisions like the Larry Tunsil trades and a few others that he gave up so much for the future in order to make again, the short term, the present that much better. And it just didn't work out. Now, the thing with Jacksonville is Trent Baalke, no one trusts him. Just how he handled like his final few years in the 49ers. He was one of those early 49ers and general managers across the league where they got lucky with their draft picks. And then people thought, oh man, this guy's great. He can really spot talent in the later rounds. And then we all come to find out like the best way to win at the draft is to hit your early round picks and then have a whole bunch of picks on day 3. And he hasn't been able to, repeat that success. The thing with Kellen Moore, just quickly, there are some people who are really close to the Cowboys who cover that team very closely. Jeff Kavanaugh, Brian Broaddus, who aren't nearly as optimistic, as impressed by Kellen Moore as like the national stages. And so that's something that I wanted to dive into as we head along, because I think he's going to be, mentioned among these head coaching candidates, even if, and potentially if, the Cowboys don't let him go and, promote him from within instead of letting him go instead of Mike McCarthy.
That was
it
much
definitely
more
has the
thoughtful
buzz around
answer
it
than
being
mine.
the young offensive genius who could maybe save some things. I think for me, this breaks down. I'll give my take real fast. I think Josh gave a much better take than I was going to, so thanks for that, Josh. But I will say this comes down to if it's a Shad Khan hire, I bet they go Bill O'Brien. If it's a Tony Khan hire, who I am a big fan of, the younger Khan who's the head of AEW, does some Premier League team, all that stuff. I think he's a sharp guy. I think they would go Kellen Moore or Leftwich's way. So that'll tell me how the Jags organization is going. And after you have the big splashy hire, I would just go to a guy you think is going to help Trevor Lawrence develop. Other news for this week that might be important for the cash games, Pete. Chase Edmonds going to be downgraded to out versus Seattle. Maybe James Conner week for cash games. You got any thoughts on that one, or do you want to punt on this? You want to punt on all the
no, this I'm very excited to talk about. Yes, I think James Conner is set up to be a smash play here. We've seen games without Edmonds where Conner gets, the entirety of the work, the pass catching work, the goal line work. We know he's still a talented running back. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about James Conner in this game. I think it sets up to be a good fantasy game in general. And they've also not really shown a willingness to use a third back that much. So it's not like we really have to worry about someone coming in and getting, 40% of the work. So yeah, I think James Conner is going to be good. I guess the only other thing is just because he's been a little banged up himself of late. If there's any injury concerns there with him, but otherwise I'm ready to fire the cannons.
Josh, you want to trust a little bit of James Conner this weekend with the fact that the Cardinals are technically playing for an NFC West title. We'll see if that can come to fruition and maybe some seeding ramifications as well.
It's a huge game for the Cardinals because obviously the Rams have to beat the 49ers, a team that's beaten them in 5 straight games, in order to clinch the NFC West. And, what we saw with the Cardinals last week was Kyler Murray once again take over. To me, it's been interesting that like they haven't really changed their offense that much without DeAndre Hopkins. And we got like one game where it didn't work, and they just put Antoine Wesley out there and he was just a guy. And then this past weekend, you watch those games and Antoine Wesley was making like contested catches, one-on-ones, like using him exactly again, like Nuke Hopkins, and he fulfilled that role. Is that the key each and every week once we hit the playoffs? Because we've seen this Cardinals team beat you in so many ways, in the running game, in the passing game. Obviously, defense has been pretty good this year. Yeah, that's really one to track. And one final thought here as we go to 2022 best ball. James Conner is kind of an archetype, and Hayden Winks nailed this all offseason, where someone who has had previously a feature back role, who then was not signed for peanuts necessarily, but just downgraded because of questions around them, and they weren't going to see nearly the same amount of volume as they saw previously. We can say that with James Conner. We can say that with Leonard Fournette. So again, at running back 37, where he was going this summer, when you consider like his just inside the 5 to 10 yard role he was destined to have, and then on top of that, Chase Edmonds getting injured for so long, I think that's an archetype to look for as we again head on into the 2022 season.
Would we say that Mike Davis is the exact opposite of that archetype?
Hey, now look, yeah. I made fun of Pete about the 8th place finish instead of 6th, so he could get someone to, clean off his car. Mike Davis is a touchy subject. Look,
touchy.
All we talk about,
you can't use the word touches and Mike Davis in the same sense. He doesn't get any of them.
Oh, okay. All we have to talk about though in that running back dead zone is Damian Harris, who Pete took Rondale Moore instead of this past year, instead of hitting 5th place. And not Mike Davis. You just talk about your hits in the running back dead zone, not the misses.
Well, I think we're on the same page. I was a Mike Davis fan coming in too. I like volume. I do track volume for DFS. Volume is the gospel for most other sports, and for NFL it usually is too. And yeah, I'll wear the Mike Davis egg on my face then, so you don't have to, Josh. I'm just you have to keep this show morale up. We got also other news here. Tyler Huntley starting for Lamar Jackson in Pittsburgh this week. And Pete, I'm going to ask you first about Tyler Huntley. Is he at a price tag, $5,700 on DK? Certainly has been playing well, certainly rushing and throwing fairly well. But at that kind of price tag, is he even in contention to be in your cash game lineups?
Yeah, I think right now he is the second best cash game play. It looks like Taysom Hill in the dome there against the Falcons is also going to be right up there as a top play. But man, Huntley has looked really good. We've seen him run a ton this year, which obviously gives him a super high floor. He has a really good rapport with Mark Andrews. My hope is like the narrative of this, Big Ben final game, they just let him chuck it, 55 times. Josh says, no, that's not going to happen. But maybe there's a little shootout potential there. Otherwise, Huntley, though, should be able to run a lot on the ground.
I hope it does. And what, Deontay Johnson's on the COVID list? Is that correct?
Yeah.
He's probably not playing, or is he definitely out? He can't come off the list.
I think he's for sure out, is from what but I might be wrong.
5 days to clear. So he got qualified on Thursday.
What we've known about the Steelers offense is that it's the shortest time to throw in the NFL, and obviously Ben Roethlisberger's ADOT this past weekend, intended air yards per attempt, whatever you want to call it, has been abysmal. It's just tiny. It's awful. But the Ravens defense, allowing the most explosive plays, can't tackle worth shit. I mean, yards after catch all over the yard. We saw it against the Bengals twice this year. I just don't think like Ben's going to hold the ball long enough to take advantage of that for Chase Claypool. Look, Chase Claypool's done some dumb things this year. He hasn't, won all of his 50-50 situations. Who is going to, since they're 50-50 balls? But that is like a wide receiver talent that in a different offense, I think would be utilized like far more, because right now Ben has to recognize, coverages dictate he is a one-on-one on the outside. I'm going to lob it up for him and try to, ask him to win this really difficult scenario. Or he's open on the third read in the backside, but I'm never going to get to him because I'm not going to hold the football that long. I just hate watching the Steelers right now. I think Tyler Huntley is the best quarterback in this game.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable take to have. Another reasonable take might be one in favor of Keyshawn Vaughn. Ronald Jones going to be out versus Carolina. Tampa Bay still pretty big favorites according to the books. Just shy of a 10-point line on that one from what I was seeing before the show. Josh, you got any thoughts here on Rojo, a man who's been talked about a lot? He's going to be out. No Leonard Fournette as well because of that hamstring issue. So could it finally be Keyshawn Vaughn time?
No. What I am fascinated to see, though, this Bucs team as we hit the playoffs, because they have been at points, along with the Cowboys, like the best offense in the NFL, at least the most balanced. Let's put it that way. Like they could beat you with the rushing attack because of the offensive line and the running back. They beat you in the passing game because they had 3 awesome wide receivers plus a tight end, and their defense at times was fantastic. Now, how many pieces of that are hitting, peak form once we hit the playoffs, especially the passing game? Like without Antonio Brown, without Chris Godwin, it's Mike Evans, it's Gronk, who's kind of hit a downturn recently. And like, that's it. And Brady's going to, find someone who's open, but I can't, maybe it's just my bias. I can't think of them as glowingly as we hit the playoffs. Like as if they had one of those 2 pieces, and kind of the same thing with the Cowboys without Michael Gallup. But that's just another conversation for another day.
Pete, how about you in the Bucs backfield? I know you've talked a lot about Rojo and ship chasing with our pal Pat Kerrane. He's out. Is it Keyshawn Vaughn week in cash?
Yeah, it's going to be a very tough decision. I was talking with Derek Carty about this because Keyshawn Vaughn will project well. Like you got to divvy up the carry somewhere, but we also know that these guys have incredibly short leases in the Bucs passing game. You miss pass protection, Brady and Arians are yanking you, and they have Le'Veon Bell there, who he isn't going to get any yards after contact, but he probably can pass protect. And so there is a lot of risk of Vaughn making one mistake and then just riding the pine for the rest of the game. So that makes him scary as a play for me. As far as them in the playoffs, like Josh was saying, I do think they're really interesting in if Leonard Fournette is fully healthy coming back. I wonder if we see even a bigger shift to the run. I think he made an appearance back at practice, but they're going to need Leonard Fournette in a big way without Godwin and AB.
And then the last news item I'll put out here, Miles Sanders is going to be out this week on the Saturday game, but the Eagles apparently going to be playing even though they have nothing to play for in the spot against Dallas on Saturday. Jalen Hurts has been putting in full practices. Josh, you got any lean here for Philadelphia? I know it's probably a mostly meaningless game on a Saturday night, but for people playing that 2-game slate on the DFS sites, could have some hope there of something bubbling up.
So you mean nothing to play for because they already have like locked up a playoff spot?
Yeah, I think they can't move, I believe, is their
right. I think they're almost certainly stuck. The 7th seed, really crazy things have to happen for them to get to the 6th seed. Yeah, it's been so weird, and maybe no team has changed more this season when you think about it than the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, they started off the year one of the highest neutral pass rate teams in the league, despite Jalen Hurts, despite the offensive line. And it makes you wonder why, because in these like final 8 weeks of the season, their offensive line once again got healthy. Jalen Hurts, the running game, all of it's been fantastic. And they're kind of playing a bully ball-esque game, and it matches so much better with their talents. The one player I want to shout out, because all these other rookie wide receivers are getting so much love, in Jalen Waddle for good reason, Jamar Chase for even better reason. But we all know Matt Harmon. We all like Matt Harmon. I think Devontae Smith's reception perception this year is going to be so much green that people are going to be shocked, because when you go and watch it, he is winning down the field. Now, the other part of it is Jalen Hurts, they're not throwing a lot. He's not terribly accurate in terms of his decision-making. And then he's also the only wide receiver on that team who can like win in isolation. Like, when you think about it, it's Quez Watkins and Jalen Reagor, and that sucks. So Devontae Smith is a really, really good player as an individual, but it's not going to like come into massive production in the current state of this franchise.
Yeah, I think that's reception perception. I know you brought that up briefly there with Matt Harmon, and I would give a real big cosign to that one, because I know he was beating that Deontay Johnson drum for a while before he was getting that work. A lot of other guys that bubble up there do end up having some fantasy ramifications. So I would say definitely worth keeping an eye on Matt Harmon's work and what he's doing there. And Pete, I presume you're not playing a cash game on Saturday, right? So this game has no meaning to you at all.
No, but I am glad you brought that up, because sometimes people try to sneak in a Saturday one in their invites. And because I'm just kind of mindlessly clicking accept on all of these, I've caught myself a few times. So if you try to pull that shit with Saturday, or an even trickier one, people trying to send me Sunday all day contests. Okay. I'm not dealing with that Sunday night football stuff. I mean, just cut that shit out right now.
All right, so there you go. A message out there to everybody out there. Don't come for the cash game king unless you're going to take them down. Some of the contractual things I'm going to throw out there, and you guys we could just say, are you buying in or not? Just try to make these fast. But AJ Green, and by the way, I said I did research. I just saw Sal Vetri retweet this and then took it from him. So that's where research.
I was going to ask, but I'm glad you noted it.
No, I mean, the research I do is just getting into the mindset to do this show to have fun. That's the research I do.
Aggregation. We've all done it at one point.
Exactly. A positive affirmation saying today's going to be a good show. The first good show we put together here on Splash Play. AJ Green needs 10 catches for $250K, another 75 yards for $250K. Pete, you buying in?
I am not. How many did you say? 10?
10 catches.
10 catches, 75 yards.
Maybe if he had 3 more weeks to hit this mark. But Josh loves the old, so maybe he could make a case for AJ Green.
I mean, do we want to dig through old AJ Green tweets here? I remember it was like July when I made the case no one else wanted to make it for AJ Green being one of the best round 18 or 17 picks out there in best ball, because obviously he was the least efficient wide receiver in 2020. It could only go up. He's going to be starting right wide receiver for the Cardinals because they don't move their receivers around. And look, we got 3 or 4, maybe even 5 usable weeks out of AJ. None spiked, but some usable ones. I'll take that. I'll take that as a victory, Pete.
This is me anytime Leone and Josh talk about AJ Green.
It's so true.
It's also could be the face he makes when making his 19th child.
Yes.
But I also at the same time wasn't talking about Tyrell Williams. So I think like it evens out.
It does.
I got him in some underdog best balls. Didn't work out, I'll say. That Lions spot. Stephon Diggs apparently needs 6 catches to add $750,000 to his salary base for the next 2 seasons. So an interesting one here. Josh, you buying in?
What a life. I mean, 6 catches for an extra 750 G's in each of the next few seasons. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, next 2.
Yeah, 6 catches for the Bills. I mean, and Stephon Diggs. I actually think Stephon Diggs is going to have a pretty favorable ADP heading into next year, comparable to like where he ended up this year and what the expectations were. You know what I'm saying, Pete?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I think you could see, I think what you're saying, like we might see guys like say Justin Jefferson now be late first round picks, whereas Diggs might slide to like the mid second, and then
like where DK was going.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you on that. And Leone had a thread about that too, of just kind of Diggs' production. And it wasn't that, the volume was still there. His catch percentage just went down a bit, but even his touchdowns he just wasn't quite as insanely efficient as he was last year. And so now everyone is like down on him, but really not much changed.
Yep.
Yeah. And no Emmanuel Sanders. He's doubtful to go, so no reason to roll him out there at this point. So it seems like an easy way for Diggs to get 6 catches, but whether that leads to a good fantasy day or not, we'll see. Gronk has 2 big ones. He needs 7 catches to earn $500,000. He also needs 85 reception yards to get another $500,000. Pete, that's a pretty nice fantasy day potentially for Gronk if he could hit those milestones. Maybe Tom Brady trying to win his friendship over after losing Antonio Brown. Does Gronk hit these? You buying?
Yeah, I mean, Gronk has been playing so well. His target totals have been incredibly consistent. Now you're removing, 2 pieces from the passing game. I think the question, though, is just, how long are they playing for in this game? Are they going to rest the starters? Like, if anyone needs some rest heading into the playoffs, it's probably someone like Gronk. So that's kind of the interesting thing to me. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Brady, pepper him real quick early, get that record, and then get out of there.
How about you, Josh? You want to take some stabs at Gronk with him having a nice DFS day if he does get this $1 million worth of bonuses on Sunday?
Yeah, we've seen some really weird game plans for the Bucs this year where they open with like 13 straight. God, I'm going in and out of the darkness. 13 straight passing attempts on drives, like instead of running the ball. I wouldn't be surprised, like in the first drive, if they can get 3 catches to Gronk if he hits that. I think that's potential. Go ahead.
Brian in the chat saying, "Is Josh in the basement of Dracula's castle or a BDSM?"
No one will ever know.
That was like, for chat birds sometimes go hit or miss there. I feel like that one actually got me to laugh. So kudos to Brian on that one. Rex Burkhead has 2 milestones he could hit. 103 yards, total yards for $125,000 for Rex Burkhead. Rex Burkhead also 30% of snaps this weekend would give him another $125K. Josh, you buying in on Rex Burkhead, a man who's against all odds, being shockingly good for the Texans down the home stretch?
No, we were on this. We were on this 4 years ago that Rex Burkhead was actually good. So, everything was better in 2018, 2017 in general. So let's just rewind, go back to the time machine, and just relive our positive affirmations, some might say, for Rex Burkhead.
Pete, Rex Burkhead make it in the cash game lineup?
No, he is not. And the Titans have stuff to play for. They can, tighten up their defense there when they want to. So, I don't know. The Texans also don't strike me as someone that's going to try to give Rex Burkhead 40 touches to get there. Like, this isn't, Cooper Kupp or Jonathan Taylor trying to set actual meaningful records. I don't see it.
Another maybe dodgier one that they can hit here. Taylor Heineke needs 60% of snaps and a win to earn $125,000. He's officially starting. Pete, do you care at all about Taylor Heineke and his contractual motivation?
I am going to just say this as kindly as I can. I give 0 shits about Taylor Heineke in his contract heading into week 18. I'm sorry, Taylor. I just have to be honest.
Patrick Laird just texted Heineke, you got to check out the show, man. He's doing it all the time. My good friend Pete. And then he turned it on and here's you just going, no, I don't care about this guy making money.
Spags thinks all white guys in the NFL are just on a text chain with each other.
Like a 10-man group text. That's it. Yeah. Cooper Kupp is left.
Who was the admin of that? Is it Hunter Renfro? Who? Yeah.
Renfro and Cooper Kupp have been in a power struggle for it for a while.
Do you care about Taylor Heineke at all? Josh, you want to just keep moving?
Nope, let's keep moving.
Okay. Cooper Kupp, we talked about this one, 12 catches, 136 receiving yards to break 2 different records. And it is an 18-week or an 18-game season, 18-week season record he'll be breaking potentially. So, Josh, how do you feel about this one? We already gave our takes on it yesterday. And
I think want him to beat it. Let's leave some goodness for Calvin Johnson and these guys. It's 18 weeks versus, 17 games. We're about to have Kyle Pitts. You might talk about this one too. I know he's questionable for this weekend. Break Mike Ditka's record. Mike Ditka, who did that 75 years ago when that season was 13 games. I don't maybe all the time, forever in history, we should have been considering playoff games in the same season part of these season-long records in general. But now records don't mean anything. They don't mean anything. They're all going to get twisted, especially in today's day and age with how we throw the football with 18 games. I kind of hate it.
Yeah, it should be like a per game average, maybe, where you have to hit a minimum. But I would agree. I think that's a fair take with the game and the season getting longer. But Pete, Cooper Kupp here, 12 catches. You think he's going to hit it, right? He has to.
I mean, the thing is they have to win the game, and I don't think they're going to make like suboptimal decisions just to get him the record. But I mean, his floor game has been like around there a lot this year. So yeah, I could see if it's close, them pushing to get it. I also like Josh, the purity with these records. He reminds me of the 72 Dolphins when they crack out the champagne every time
Prosecco.
a team did get the, yeah, Josh is going to bust out the Prosecco when Cooper Kupp, doesn't get the record.
Is there a brand of Prosecco in particular? Is it Cupcake? A Cupcake is one that I get whenever I can.
Oh, no. Wow. You just got Prosecco shaved. What a pour.
I've got a couple behind me. I'll just crack one out here if we have a great best ball draft. How about that?
Yeah, there's the one that also looks like Hanukkah, the blue and gold, blue and silver. That always gets my eye too. Those are my Prosecco.
That was the summer of '59 one that night. I stole it from I can't remember his name. Do you remember Sports Science on ESPN? John Brinkus.
Okay.
Does that name not ring a bell?
Your name dropping guys you stole alcohol from. It says.
Yeah. So that's when we were doing. A stream for the Draft Network. That I was in John Brinkus's house in outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and at the end he's at a fridge down there, and I just broke in and got 2 bottles of Prosecco and just had a blast. So I felt like a high schooler all over again.
You see this photo right here? This is John Brinkus begging you to give
him
his Prosecco back.
It's like, please Venmo me.
Stop stealing my alcohol, Josh.
Josh, please give me my Prosecco back.
Also, Will is saying that Cupcake is his wife's favorite, and I don't know if that was a burn or not, but I'm going to take it as a compliment. That two people who love Willis are both.
It's a bird. It's a bird.
Yeah, I think those are the main milestones. Josh mentioned Kyle Pitts, 59 receiving yards to break the rookie tight end record. Jamar Chase, 45 to break the rookie receiving yard record. Mike Evans needs 54 to hit 1K for his 8th straight season. And then a bunch of QBs just shy of 5K passing yards include Tom Brady, Matt Stafford, Justin Herbert, Derek Carr, Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes. So there are some more. Actually, Mark Andrews apparently needs 141 to break the tight end receiving record too. So that's
I think I'm rooting for the Mike Evans one. I'm rooting on behalf of all Dynasty football content creators. I mean, there's no better soundbite in the offseason than saying Mike Evans has hit 1,000 yards in 8 straight seasons. I mean, these guys need that nugget.
He did it, I think, in like one of the final catches of last season too.
Yeah,
so it would be only fitting to do it again this year. I think Jamar Chase, that record is fine. Now that I am like the dictator of records and if they should stand or not, Kyle Pitts cannot make his. Jamar Chase can.
Yeah, you're ready. You're like sounding like the MLB guys too, who are like, "Oh, the records are they're the most important thing we have. They're sacrosanct."
Big traditionalist, Josh Norris. Yes,
protect them at every turn. All right, let's do a playoff best ball draft here, and then we can do the ride or die picks, Pete, because we got to make sure to get Josh while he's fresh before we beat him down with the asinine segment that is our ride or die picks.
Yeah. Also, a little check in, Josh. How you feeling? Are we feeling?
I'm good.
Good. The stamina is good.
Was I supposed to bring ride or die picks?
I never do.
No, we usually make them up on the fly. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
All right, Josh. Just is there any? You're allowed to draft alongside of us. I just don't want to get.
Yeah. I'm not the one pressing the keys. I can just and I can help with the selections. I cannot be the one physically pushing down on the keyboard.
Okay. All right. Maybe I will overrule you hard on one pick, just so if in the court of law we can just kind of point to this.
Are there any legally safe guidances or any sort of suggestions you have for people out there, Josh, you can give as a man who cannot play on Underdog, but knows the inner workings and the mysterious things going on there in the chambers, like in your background?
Be responsible. I know that we could like put out an infinite amount of $5 drafts and they'd fill in 3 days. That's what we're in right now is the Mitten 2. The Gauntlet's out there for $25 as well. Again, playoff best ball. If you've never done it, you're going to be in a world of hurt in a moment because it flies by and every single draft is totally different. Pete, the weird thing about this is the sharper the draft room, like the better EV for everyone, because then it keeps all the stacks for you just to select from your own because no one wants to kind of overlap with any of them.
Totally. Yeah. Because if you get in a place where I'm trying to think of an example of a player who might, drop, say like an Eckler or someone, you're not going to have the random guy being like, what? Eckler's at the top of the queue. I'm just going to add him to my team. And then he blows up your stack. So I think those kind of things are interesting there because you do have guys. We talked about this, I think when I had John Jackson on talking about the strategy, there are some people that will just build to advance. And not really worry about their first place tournament equity, which I am not wired like that, except this week, which I am. So maybe we just build a team filled of wild card players.
Yeah, Alan's saying he's in the 2 hole in that draft, so we might have some people in the chat going to watch the show and get a little bit of an edge on you, Pete, here.
I am curious Josh's take here on 1-5. You normally will have one of the Chiefs guys, maybe Diggs. I've seen Taylor creeping up, even Derrick Henry now creeping up. What's your take here from this spot?
Well, I mean, now that the Chiefs are almost certainly the 2 seed, unless, the Titans. But look, if you go Tyreek Hill, or if you don't get Hill or Kelsey, can you really get Patrick Mahomes? Like, do you want to go naked Patrick Mahomes here? I think we aim for Tyreek Hill and hope they get Mahomes here on the turn.
Yeah. So Spags, are you good with Hill? I do think he's the best player here.
Yeah, I think we haven't had a Chiefs stack here, so I think trying to get one makes sense. We've done about like 4 or 5 of these on the show, Josh, and we have gotten like all Niners and Cardinals respectively.
I just try to draft the best plays. Spags is trying to balance his show exposure here through these drafts.
I think we should draft the players who score the most points.
I kind of like that concept.
It's a unique strategy, one that we did not try.
Yeah, I did do it when I was taking Rondale Moore all season, right, Josh? You guys want to stack it up with Mahomes?
We have to.
Yes. Let's do it.
So Titans, obviously, 1 seed in the AFC, again, unless they lose the Texans, what they did just a couple weeks ago. I think most of the time stacking the 1 seed with the 2 seed in the same conference is an interesting strategy here. Or you can go the other side here and go, but Devontae Adams is already off the board, but you could also get, I don't know, Aaron Jones or whoever else you wanted to on the Packers into the equation, the NFC. But having 1 first place and 1 either second or third place is one way of doing this that I've found.
Yeah.
Also probably not relevant to this draft, but Nick pointing out Deontay Johnson. It's also on the Underdog NFL handle, another good news breaking handle. Deontay Johnson just got activated. So
we got to redo the show.
Redo it. Start it over. Yeah. One thing that'll come into play with this stack, and I'm curious your guys' takes. Josh, where are you at on the Chiefs backfield as far as the playoff stretch? Because that's a riddle.
Yeah, and CEH is going as the running back 9, and Darrell Williams is going as the running back 10. That has, the gap has considerably diminished between the two. I kind of don't want a piece of it, and I just think if Mahomes goes off, it's not necessarily going to be to the backfield. But that's just me.
So I am going to weed out quarterbacks just because I think we're going to be
good.
We go
Fournette here?
I mean, we can play for...
You're getting the highest odds Super Bowl matchup.
I mean, I think we have one side who is not a 1 seed on the NFC side in the Bucs that have a great chance of getting the Super Bowl, and the same thing on the AFC side of this equation with the Chiefs.
I agree.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say, and we're not going to have enough time to talk it out, was I was just looking at Lemmings here. He does have Evans. I think he would be less excited to take. See, I was thinking maybe we take Gronk and he doesn't take Fournette, but I think he was going to take whichever $2 we left anyways. So this does put us in territory. I would say ideally we're grabbing one of these Chiefs running backs here, unless we also want to make a detour for like an AJ Brown, T Higgins.
I would try to complete the Chiefs and take one of CEH. I don't know which one you would want to take. I would
go Darrell Williams because I think no matter what, he's going to get the passing down role.
Yeah. All right. We'll take Darrell. I agree with the Darrell over CEH take. I was just thinking too, one thing I've noticed in these drafts, again, because we're heavy on the Chiefs stack, that we could have probably kicked that down the road. One, either someone doesn't take them because we're heavy on Chiefs. And even if someone does, we take the cheaper of the two who falls to us. And so that's the thing that has been the puzzle for me with these drafts, is knowing when to take detours, knowing there's guys later you can complete your Chiefs stack with.
Right. Just for everyone out there, I know Plapp in the chat. So do players on teams with the bye just not score points in the first round? Yes. And as soon as obviously that player is eliminated, they give you no more points. So this is why you can't just load your draft up, despite there being, potentially a bit of a value with Titans and Packers, because you're not going to advance it out of the first round. And again, there's 10 rounds in this. You're drafting against 5 other people. You start 5 of those players. So 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 2 wide receivers / tight ends, and 1 flex.
All right, so we were on the clock. To me, ideally, we obviously later add a 4th Chief, and then we start to think about our Super Bowl opponents in the NFC. We can, I don't see another buck here, so I think we pick an NFC player, basically best available that we like here.
I love Sony.
I love Sony too. Yeah,
I think Sony's an awesome pick. What is your take, Josh, on Sony with Akers getting back in the mix?
So what I've loved about the Rams is when everything got stale and, analytics, Twitter got all in the Rams that they were just back to where they were in the previous years. The Rams tried out, 2 extra tight ends, an extra offensive lineman, and ran some power football with Sony. And that's kind of like, I know people hate to say it, the engine or the rhythm or whatever that creates like the 3 to 4 to 5 yard chunks. He's not really necessarily going to reel off huge catch or huge runs, but yeah, I think Sony's really important to what they are right now.
So my suggestion here would be we go Debo and we set up getting like 2 Bucks, 2 Rams, 2 49ers and play for
I am so nervous that the 49ers aren't even going to make it.
But that's why Debo's still here.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I think the Chargers are going to make it, and Keenan Allen. Anyways, it's up to you.
No, so I agree with you. I'm just thinking structurally that like we're going to add a 4th Chief for sure, and we've just kind of now made the bet like Chiefs are winning or making it to the Super Bowl, and we already got a running back score from them in the Super Bowl too.
Yeah.
So my thought is now let's allow ourselves to have Chiefs Bucks, Chiefs Rams, or Chiefs 49ers Super Bowls.
I also think that we need to spread our wings a little bit at wide receiver because we have 2 locked in week 1 running backs. And so that's our 1 running back and that's our flex.
Yep.
No matter what. So at wide receiver, though, Debo might not even make it. Like if the 49ers lose, the Saints win, 49ers are out of the ball game.
Well, the one thing I would say too, though, generally, like it's same with the best ball stuff. It's just like, if the 49ers don't make it, we probably just let $5 on fire. So we'll draft as if the 49ers make it.
Okay.
Ron asking a question that we talked about a few times on here, but how many teams total are you looking to target for? I think you've said, Pete, your ideal usually is going to be a 4-2-2-2 sack, right?
Well, I think anything like the 4-3-3, the 4-2-2-2, I think there's lots of viable ones. I did a 4-3-2-1 the other night. All right. So I would say here,
I like James Conner so much more, but yeah, I mean, I think I'd go Kittle.
Or I think I would too, because like you just said, or we were talking about, we're making a big bet now on the 49ers advancing.
Yeah.
And if they do, we're getting both of their best, pass catchers.
Yeah.
I would not have been opposed to Van Jefferson there either.
He's in play too. Yeah. We should think through our end. If we don't take Pringle here, is there a 4th Chief that we can live with late?
No.
Yeah, it's DeMarcus Robinson or Josh Gordon.
So we probably should take Pringle here, I would think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
I mean, I think that's the best approach if, again, we want to have 4 Chiefs players.
Oh, are you kidding me, Lemmings? Lemmings! What are you doing? You don't. Oh my God, I'm tilting. Van
tried to hurt you, I think.
Okay, Van or Dalton Schultz. Like I think Dalton Schultz is going to be really important to them because they're going to go back to not having Michael Gallup on this team.
So I just think structurally,
week 1, but
we probably don't want. I'd be more open to Mike Williams than Dalton just because we already have 3 NFC teams that aren't the Cowboys.
Okay. Andrew in the chat asking, is Mecole dead? I would say so. I feel like he's the Hill guy. Like if Hill were out, then maybe you could play Mecole.
Yeah.
I would take snaps at him.
Yeah. Man, now, and what about on the Tampa Bay? If we want to add, do we have any love for the Tyler
Grayson.
Johnson, Cyril Grayson?
Yeah, it would be Grayson for me.
Yeah, I think it'd be Grayson for me too. I mean, Josh and I are going in locks. I'm not just stealing your picks, Josh. I just you're repeating a lot of things that we've said that I agree with.
These drafts, I mean, again, Pete, we did so many over the summer that you kind of knew like, okay, that guy was going, I'm targeting this guy in this area. Every single playoff best ball draft is wildly different. Yeah. That I feel like I can't even review what we have going on until at the end of the entire draft. And then I want to review everyone else's teams too.
Yeah.
Because you just learn so much from that.
So, I mean, we do have some flexibility here as far like we're not locked into obviously to the 4-2-2-2. Like if we wanted to go 3 Rams or 3 49ers, I think that's completely viable.
Can we just take like the best players remaining, or is that stupid? Or is that only like a final round selection? Like the headliner?
Who are you floating? I'd be more open to a best player on the AFC than NFC because we're already made.
Feels like
3
you scroll down
here, right?
Yeah.
Like, as Mitchell would be getting there if the Niners somehow keep running, which we're banking on. I feel like you got to take Mitchell.
Yeah, there's no one. Yeah, I'd take Eli, but that's the NFC, obviously.
Yeah, so we're loading up on. I'm just gonna do that just because it gets us at least concentrated on 3 San Francisco.
See, this was an area where a bunch of Chargers were going, but obviously now it's changed a lot.
Right. So now we're playing for a San Francisco KC Super Bowl. But to Josh's point, we can either super stack it with the Chiefs by adding, a Hardman, or we can draft what we think is the best player in the in the AFC.
Is Ayuk still on the board?
Tyler Johnson? Do we want to do Tyler Johnson, Mecole Hardman? I'm just going to put these guys in the queue for now. Quick. I'm going to
do Mecole.
Yeah.
Did I get it in time? Nimble fingers. Yes.
That hand building for the cash games really got you ready for that moment.
Yeah.
Pete, do you want to speak on why just one quarterback and not two?
Yeah, just because to me, we've made a bet on the Chiefs making the Super Bowl. Like, to win, to take down the mitten, we need the Chiefs to make the Super Bowl. And if they do, Mahomes is going to get us there with big games. And so I think 4 games, because we're assuming in this scenario they don't have the bye. And so then we just want to use those darts elsewhere. And the other thing I would say too, it's, similar, Josh, when like, if you're drafting Mahomes in Best Ball Mania, you're drafting Allen, like you're not drafting another quarterback until really late, because we've done some draft capital. We've used a lot of draft capital on him. Yeah. So that's kind of just my thought on that. And Mahomes and Allen are probably, and I guess like Dak are a couple that you get excited about 4 elite games from them. And that's not like, that's a realistic story to tell.
Yeah.
And so my overall take on it was it probably lowers your round 1 advance rate, only taking 1, but I think it boosts your first place equity.
Yeah. And again, you have to start 5. At most, you can start 2 running backs, but at most, you can start 3 wide receivers / tight ends. I'm just thinking about this stuff.
Yeah.
By the seat of my pants. Like, these playoff best ball drafts, I can't wrap my brain around like the best strategy, the best way to approach them, because I think every single draft room is just wildly different. Different.
What do you think the chance is? And I guess this could really go to either of you, but the chance of getting through that first round without a QB, like that does feel like a pretty big disadvantage. But I guess if you survive, you're going to look a lot better for it.
I think you can get by, but let's say tight end was separated, you could probably get by without a tight end. But since that's not, I think the rest of those positions, obviously you couldn't get a 0 at quarterback or a 1C position like running back either. I don't think that would be possible.
I just think when you draft Mahomes in the second, like you're making such a big bet on him that I think otherwise, if you're going to do 2 QBs, like I'd rather go really late and draft like Jalen Hurts and Trey Lance or something like as my 2.
Can we do an if then? Here.
Yeah.
So you have round 1 here that we just did. Let's say instead of Tyreek, like instead of the Chiefs stack, we went. Would we have gone Jonathan Taylor? Probably. Or Mike Evans. Would we have gone Mike Evans there?
Yeah, I think that would have been in the conversation. Yeah.
Okay. So if we'd gone Mike Evans there, round 2, we would have immediately, even though ADP didn't dictate it, we would have locked in Tom Brady. Is that kind of what your thought process would have been, being like, hey, since he now is clearly the number 1 pass catcher for this team, we have to lock in the quarterback to tie with him?
So I've been thinking about that a lot. I do think it makes complete sense. And we see it with a lot of these pairings. Allen Diggs, Mahomes, one of the Chiefs guys, that one you just mentioned, Brady Evans. But I also think that's just naturally how most of these drafts are going to go. And most people are going to be billed, in that there's really unique stuff where I think, you can draft Josh Allen without Diggs and backfill a Bill stack later. And I think, it's a little harder with the Bucs now that Godwin and AB are out of the picture. Before that was a sick backdoor stack.
Exactly.
And so it's a little hard for teams like that. And same with the Cowboys. It's gotten harder with Gallup removed to justify it. But I do want to mix up the textures of my draft, so I'm not just always doing QB main stack over and over.
Now, my thought on that too is I think you can take the quarterback by himself if it's the Bills and if it's the Cardinals.
I agree.
As we saw with Josh Allen during best ball regular season, just having him as a 5th round pick by himself without taking Stephon Diggs earlier, and in those drafts, people backfilled with Manny or Cole or Gabe Davis, even Dawson Knox in some places, Devin Singletary, like that worked out really well, because inside the 5, inside the 10, Josh Allen and his rushing touchdown doesn't need someone to throw the football to. Same thing with Kyler Murray now without DeAndre Hopkins. Like, it's not saying it's a moot point with the rest of his pass catchers, but it's not like that one player that you have to have where it's the Mahomes, Kelce's, the Tyreeks, or the Mike Evans, Tom Brady, like we just talked about.
And to your point, I mean, what's crazy, Kyler didn't even get drafted in this one. I mean, Kyler's not, and I just was highlighting to see where these Arizona guys are. I mean, you could start a backdoor Arizona super stack in the 6th round. You could have gone Kirk, You could have gone Connor. You could have, where's Zach Ertz in here? Did Ertz even get drafted?
He's in the 9th round.
Yeah, Ertz in the 9th, and you take Kyler in the 10th. You can backdoor the entire Cardinal stack round 6 on.
Yeah. D. Weiss in the chat, you guys maybe should have gone Gronk instead of Fournette. My thinking with bringing up Fournette was, well, no, we did talk about that. I would say, like, if you're starting a buck stack, I would rather have Fournette than Gronk, because again, the wide receivers and tight ends are combined there, and Brady, who knows who he's going to throw to inside the 5, inside the 10. And with Fournette, we know that he's almost certainly the one that's going to get the goal to go opportunities.
I will say too, on, kind of on that point, and I understand what he's saying, there's more uncertainty with the running backs, especially all the NFC pairings, Dylan and Aaron Jones, Zeke and Pollard. And there's like all these situations where you could really see them breaking separate ways, where wide receiver, those elite wide receivers, they fly off the board pretty quick. To where in a perfect world, and this is kind of how I draft, season long best ball teams too, I'd rather take those high ceiling wide receivers early and then make a bet on James Conner or Chase Edmonds, AJ Dillon over that. I think structurally that's my ideal. And so I see that point there, knowing that we had running back options, boom, boom, right after it. Maybe we break a tie in favor of the pass catcher there.
2 points. One, can you rename this one 33% Josh Norris? And then the second one, I feel like the Cardinals, there's not many edges left. I mean, you could have started doing these playoff best balls weeks and weeks ago when the Chargers were no lock, when, the Saints had no hope. But look, we just bet on the 49ers making it. The 49ers basically have to win this weekend against the Rams to get in, because all the Saints have to do is have their great offensive line bully the Atlanta Falcons defensive line, have their defensive line bully the Atlanta Falcons offensive line, and it's over. Like, then the Saints get in over that. And so I'm not saying go out there and draft Alvin Kamara, even though when we talk about superstars and it warping your brain how late he's going in these, but the Cardinals, if that happens, if the 49ers beat the Rams, the Cardinals are the 4th seed. The Cardinals are the 3 seed. Like, they get a home playoff game, which totally changes how this ordering would go this time next week.
And I think Josh's point here too, it's a good one to take, because these ADPs are going to get hyper efficient by this time next week. Like, all of that stuff, the uncertainty is removed. And whereas now you can make stands on these teams, and you're not even gambling that much when you take the Cardinals. Like Josh said, it's like gravy if the schedule breaks better. Someone in the chat was talking about the Eagles essentially going undrafted. Like, if you want to make bets on Chargers, Raiders, 49ers, Eagles, like even Saints, like, I don't know, like, now is your chance to do them, because once they lock up that spot, like if the Saints make the playoffs, Josh, I mean, Kamara's going to probably be a 3rd round pick.
Yeah. Yeah. Dallas Goedert. I mean, I'm surprised that he's not getting drafted in a lot of these too, because it's him and Devontae Smith, and that's about it. It is funny how when the Titans sucked, they were somewhat locked into the playoffs once all playoff best ball started. No one wanted to draft them because we didn't believe in their offense at all. And now that they're the 1 seed, still no one wants to draft them because they're not going to get points in round 1 out of there. So it's been a difficult path here for Tennessee.
For sure.
And Alan making the good point too, saying you got to remember to have a running back in your Super Bowl matchup. That was why I didn't mind getting Michelle and Fournette, because I feel like the Chiefs have a decent shot to get there. So get one of those guys in there, and maybe you can sort of get that move in your direction a little bit more. Got to survive the first 3 rounds. And then Andrew asking, how much have you guys worried about teams playing each other in the divisional round? Do you have a lean on that, Pete? Are you analyzing that in any sort of depth?
I've just been more not worrying about it too much, because like we were saying, there's so much of the seeding that could get jumbled up that I'm just trying to focus on, all right, I'm making bets on these 2 to 4 teams, and now let's just concentrate on them and hope the schedule gods, break in our favor. Cause I do think it is a little tough to be trying to predict those. We'll be able to do that more next week at this time. But right now I'm just focusing more on team correlation.
All right, so we got about 7 minutes left in about like the hour window. I don't want to keep everybody here too long doing all the ride or die picks. So Pete, I'm going to propose a pivot here. How about we do ride or die picks just for the games that seem interesting? So
I like that.
Okay, do it on a whim, and there'll be a good amount of them that we might disagree
on. What are ride or
on,
die picks?
Yeah. So so explain ride or die pick. I think you did it last year, Josh.
Oh, here we go again.
But it was a different version of the game. So Pete, explain it one more time here for Josh, and really more for the viewers out there. Josh is just playing along here, pretending he doesn't know.
Yes.
But in reality, he's just setting us up for the intro.
The voice of the audience. All right. So we are, normally I say game by game, but we're going to pick the best games, and we can throw out a pick of anything possible. It could be they're going to score this many points this game. They are going to outscore a player in another game. They're going to be in a winning Millie Maker lineup. Basically, any kind of form of prop bet, sports bet, fantasy points, it's fair game. The negotiation comes in is whether it's a 1-pointer, a 3-pointer, a 10-pointer. A 10-pointer is like a Hail Mary, YOLO, sub 10% chance of happening. 3-pointer would be more like a 33% chance of happening. And a 1-pointer would be a very nitty cash game-esque 50% chance of happening. Like if I just take the spread, pick one guy, one team against the spread, that would be a 1-pointer.
Okay. I'll try to follow along here.
Okay. And now it won't be game by game. We're just going to pick them out. So I'm going to take one game from the Saturday slate, Dallas, Philadelphia, and I'll give a ride or die pick to set the bar that I hope will be a 10-pointer. And we do have 1, 3, and 10-pointers, Josh, in case that was, I think, part of the explanation that might have gotten breezed over. But the 10-pointer for me, Malik Turner outscores all the Dallas starting receivers. I think they're pulling a switcheroo here. They're not going to try as hard as they said they would.
Huh. I mean, all the Dallas wide receivers you just said for Malik freaking Turner.
Yeah. I like Malik Turner, I think, should be taking Gallup routes personally.
Oh. Wow. And what should we give him a 10-pointer for this, Josh?
I think so.
Okay. Thank you.
Go for it.
Pete, do you want a 1-pointer here?
Yes, I would. When is this game? Is this Saturday?
It's Saturday night.
Yeah. Saturday night.
All right. So, Spags, what do you have CeeDee Lamb's projection at?
13.5 from Osmo, it looks like.
I'll take the over 13.5 for 1 point.
Okay, there you go. Josh, if you want to do a bold pick, you can. If you want to do an easy cash game style one like Pete did, follow your heart.
Well, an underdog pick'em line, Dak Prescott, 253.5 passing yards. Let's go under that. That's a 1.
I want to do some underdog pick'ems here too.
Okay, there you go. So there's a 1-pointer. Interesting game. Chicago now not. Cincinnati, Cleveland now. Boy, this might be a tough one picking the games out as we go. Let's do one from Cincinnati and Cleveland for the people of Ohio that I really care the most about.
No one's playing in this game.
That's why I think it's a fun one to do a ride or die pick for.
You came up with this idea of getting rid of the worst games, and then
this is literally the worst game on the slate.
But I think doing the worst one makes it fun. I think both quarterbacks pass for under 150 yards. Is that a 10-pointer, Pete?
Say it again. I can't tell when you're trying to pull a fast one over on me.
Both QBs under 150 passing yards.
That seems like a 10-pointer. Under 150 for both of them is a pretty low number. Would you agree, Josh?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, we'll give you 10 for that.
I'll take that.
Pete? I'll go.
Yeah.
Alden Tate scores a touchdown and shouts out Ian Hartitz in his post-game press conference.
That's a 10-pointer.
Wow. I know. I'll go 1,000 on that. I am willing to go 1,000.
I mean, after Cordell Patterson, I feel like Cordell Patterson owes Ian a speech on the podium for whatever award that he gets this year.
Look, I just cannot wait for the fringe roster talents this summer to get their highlight reels constructed into 5-minute formats from Ian's Twitter feed. It's one of my favorite parts. I think Drew Lock has even underperformed so much that he's not allowed to get one this offseason.
Oh, that's sad.
I love Ian, by the way. He knows it. He knows I'm just having fun with him.
All right, Pete, what do you want?
Yeah, what do you Spags, in your own personal projections, do you have Samaje Perine rush yards projection?
And my personal, I mean, I can look. I actually could pull a fast one here. Let's see.
Softer lines than Spags' personal projection. So if I could get that,
that's
one.
Hurtful. I have him for 47.9 rushing yards.
I'd like to take the over on that for 1 point.
Okay. To be clear, I haven't adjusted for snaps this week, Pete, as you know, so my book is not as sharp as it usually is.
Well, I'm helping you make those lines a little more efficient.
Oh, you bastard. All right. This game does have playoff ramifications. Pittsburgh, 18.8 implied points. Baltimore, 22.3 implied points. Josh, what would you like as your ride or die pick for this one?
What do I want as my ride or die pick in this one? Rashad Bateman has 4 first down catches. I don't know, guys.
I mean, 4 first, that's
like catches that equal.
Is that a lot? Down. Is that a little? I don't know.
Exactly. Now I'm trying to find the areas where you don't even have things that
this is honestly genius, because I'm like, That could be a 10-pointer or a 3-pointer.
So over under 3.5.
He gets 9.8 air yards per target on the year. So he has to overachieve that and actually catch him.
This one's sneaky because to me, it feels like it's probably like a 5 or a 6-pointer, which we do not have those, Josh. I will do this. 5 first downs for a 10-pointer.
Okay, we'll do that. 5 first down catches. Well, 5 catches that equal a first down for Rashad Bateman.
Sexual Jumanji saying Josh digging deeper than Vegas. I think that's what you get at Underdog. That kind of level of depth is what you want. Pete, what do you want?
All right. Now I know what you guys are going to say. I thought, how are you doing a 10-pointer? But hear me out. A 10-pointer. Chase Claypool ends up in the optimal cash game lineup. Okay. The best possible lineup this week. Chase Claypool is in it at his $5,100 salary.
Is this Pete teasing? He believes his cash game lineup is perfect. And so Chase Claypool will be in that cash game lineup.
I would never reveal my shell on a Friday afternoon. I'm saying the optimal across the board. It could be anyone's.
Okay. I think that's fair. I mean, that would be the optimal for all optimals, which
let me have my semantic.
Yeah, fun. You can have it. I'm giving it to you. I just feel like it's a long way to go for a Chase Claypool pick. Indianapolis. Oh, actually, no, I have to pick one here too.
You made us do Cleveland, Cincinnati. Let's not talk about a long way to go.
Okay, fair point. I will say, all right, let's get weird with this one. For my 10-pointers, Pittsburgh somehow makes the playoffs at their 5% chance of making the playoffs.
I mean, that's a 10-pointer. That's absolutely not happening.
Has to be. And then the next game up, Indianapolis 29.3 implied points, Jacksonville 14.3 implied points. I'm going to take the first one here because it correlates with that last one. Jags win outright. Fuck it all up for everybody. I'm rooting for chaos.
Here's one 10-pointer based on him only having 1 touchdown throw in his previous 10 games. Trevor Lawrence throws 3 touchdowns here in his season finale in his rookie season.
Correlating with my pick. No leverage here today, Pete. Just correlations.
I love it. I absolutely love it. All right. I am going to take, checking out the Underdog Pick'ems. They have not put up any JT lines yet.
No, we have. You just can't see it. So actually this week, because you took the odds boost a couple weeks ago with Josh Allen, we have a new odds boost this weekend for the people who did not take the Josh Allen one. Yep. Sorry.
You're censoring the sharps.
If you take Jonathan Taylor's rushing yards in either direction, over or under, in a 5x or 5-pick pick'em, then it boosts from 20x to 50x. So sorry, you're left out.
You can't box me out. Josh, I'm an investor. I'm an influencer. I'm a top 10 finisher in BBM, and you guys are removing plays from me?
Right. Once again, it was for everyone that drafted Rondale Moore over Damian Harris aren't allowed to use this pick'em line.
And you're costing up too much money now. We've all seen that bank account you have on Underdog.
All right, fine. Then this is what I'm doing. I will take the over on Carson Wentz's 211 passing yards.
There we go. It's a great pivot, Pete.
That's
a great pivot.
All right, we can skip some of these games. Tennessee and Houston does matter enough. 26.5 implied points for Tennessee, 16 for Houston. Pete, what do you want?
Let's see here. I would love a 1-pointer on AJ Brown over 71.5 receiving yards.
Okay, that's a 1-pointer. I think can't argue that.
No, and just straight narrow. Just it's like this is what GPP players are. It's like me golfing with my father-in-law, and I'm trying to crush the ball, and I'm slicing it into the woods. That's GPP players. My father-in-law, just straight and narrow, just a soft swing right down the pike. That's my strategy for
right on the fairway. Right
on the fairway. AJ Brown over 71.5 yards.
I will go next, and I will take, based on the information that I so carefully researched earlier in the show, Rex Burkhead, 130 total yards. Is that a 10-pointer, Pete?
130 total yards is not a 10-pointer.
But the Burkhead family needs to eat, and I do too.
I'll give you it over 150 yards.
140.
145.
Done. Welcome
to the show, Josh.
Josh, what do you want here?
Is this like whose line is anywhere where the points don't matter in the end too?
Oh, they matter because I am crushing.
They matter because Pete's winning this year after I dominated it last year. Last year didn't matter apparently.
Got it. I'm gonna go. Davis Mills has the highest completion percentage of any rookie quarterback this weekend.
Wow! Did you guys see that tweet? About Davis Mills, about comparing him. I guess his teammates have been calling him Zuckerberg because of his big brain.
we got to shout out though. I'm sure in an NFL locker room, any white guy who's smart is just called Zuckerberg. Let's be honest.
Also, smartest guy in the Texans is not quite winning awards.
That's why
Stanford guy. Come on.
That's why that text thread with Cooper Kupp and Laird that is so confusing is because they're all named Zuckerberg within it.
Right. Davis Mills in there sends paragraphs. He doesn't send individual lines.
Here it is. It's Brevin Jordan says QB Davis Mills has the nickname Zuckerberg after the Facebook CEO for his smarts. He just laughs about it. Adjust the ranks, everyone. Adjust.
And Brevin Jordan, I like being the alpha of the group. He's the one telling people about nicknames. That's what we want to see from our tight end on the rise. Seattle, 20.8 implied points. Arizona, 27.3 implied points. And Josh, I think you're due to go first.
Oh, no. Seattle, Arizona. Let's say, okay. So DeAndre Hopkins out. AJ Green. Let's say Antoine Wesley catches 2 touchdowns in this game.
Oh, bad for my low ball lineups, but that's a 10-pointer, I would think.
Yep. Thanks, Pete.
Pete, what's your 1-pointer for this one?
Spags,
Pete, what did I just say? What did I just say?
This is like every conversation with my wife.
Pete's thinking about a shell. He just changed one player out, one player in, and didn't even pay attention to what I was saying to close out this show.
What did you say, Josh? I apologize.
Antoine Wesley is going to score 2 touchdowns.
That's incredible. That's a 10-pointer.
All right. I could tell by your face. I know from hosting and doing all that, how you look off the side and then don't even recognize what the person said, that it went one ear out the other. It's
I'm sorry. I was looking at DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett projections.
I know.
I was getting excited. I wanted to ask Spags if you have Metcalf and Lockett projected very similarly.
I would have them projected fairly similarly, yes, about a 0.8 difference.
Okay, so can I have DK Metcalf scores more points than Tyler Lockett for 1 point?
Yeah, you can have it for 1 point.
Thank you.
I will take in this one another contractual obligation here to take AJ Green over 75 receiving yards. Pete,
that's so many.
Josh was ready to go off King, and then you said 75, and he's like,
so many.
What? Okay, AJ Green puts up 10 catches and 75 yards. That's
holy cow.
Yeah, we'll give him a 10
sure doesn't get that many targets.
No, 10 catches, more than 75. The thing is,
I want all these guys to get their bonuses. That's what I'm rooting for.
The yardage thing isn't that hard. He gets used down the field. The 10 catches, though, is lofty.
All right, lucky to get half of that. Next game up, New Orleans, Atlanta. New Orleans, 21.5 implied points. Atlanta, 18 implied points. I think I'm due to go first, and I will take, for the first time this year, Mike Davis outscores Cordell Patterson for 10 points. Pete.
Oh, he's done that a couple times, I think, in recent weeks.
No, I don't think he has, because
really?
I keep picking this.
It's not a 10-pointer. I'm not going to let you get, but you can have your moral victory of, see, Mike Davis isn't as bad as you say he is, but I'm not giving you 10 points.
Okay, Mike Davis, 100 yards and a touchdown.
Oh, that's a lot.
Okay,
yeah, 100 yards. Total yards, not just rushing yards.
This might be what he has on the year right now.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Come on. I'm going to go, because it's promo code Alvin Kamara over his 100 total yards against the Atlanta Falcons. Again, even without Teron Armstead for the New Orleans Saints offensive line, I think they can just bully the Falcons defense, which has laid down for everyone. And I think the Saints win this game outright pretty easily.
All right. Spags, I want to head to the Spags projections. I want to know how many rushing yards you have Taysom Hill projected for.
Taysom Hill would project. I hate that you're calling me on all these now. Taysom, I got to take out his own
projections.
Yeah, no, you can't change them.
Okay, I have projected for 23.7 rushing yards.
I'll take the over those rushing yards for 1 point.
You're really abusing my half-ass projections for that.
Pete is just doing layups
for my lineups this week, Pete.
Just 1 point layups all the time. Who have you turned into?
Josh, I'm sick of these top-heavy prize pools. Give me my 56% ROI in cash games, ride or die. I'm only drafting wildcard players in these underdog best balls. I just want to advance. Play it safe, Josh.
Wins 10K once. Looks what he turned into.
Beating the VIG now every week. Carolina, 16.8 implied points. Tampa Bay, 24.8 implied points. Pete, what's the cash game pick in this?
The cash game pick, I will take Gronk over 6 catches for 1 point.
Okay. I will correlate with your pick and say, what was the Gronk prop? Gronk needs, he's only 85. Gronk over 85 receiving yards and 7 catches for 10.
Josh, what did Spags just say?
I have no idea.
Me either.
Not my show.
And I was going to try to blow up your spot to get the information.
I have no idea. He was saying something about Gronk, and then that's it. That's all I heard.
That made it on the bulletin board, on the bullseye there.
Will you repeat it for the class? They were doing spit wads in the back.
I think it's a 10-pointer is the main takeaway, Pete.
Just say it. Say it quickly.
Pete, he lost. It's a 10-pointer.
Yeah. Okay, it's 10.
Gronk, 7 catches, 85 yards is going to be the 10-pointer for this one. Josh, what do you want?
What? That's not a 10-pointer.
That's not a 10-pointer.
It's already a 10-pointer. It's already been put.
I guess, Josh, because we're not listening to Spags and willfully ignoring him, I guess we could give him 10 points on it.
Thank you. That's all I ask. You're not going to pay attention. Just give me fictional points.
Since this is my last appearance on the show, Robbie Anderson, 2 touchdowns.
Oh, that's a 10.
That's a 10-pointer. It's a 10-pointer.
Per 2 touchdowns. Pete, did you take one in this one? No, you didn't, right?
I haven't yet. Or wait, Carolina
in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, no, I took the Gronk.
Yeah, Pete wasn't even listening to himself.
You took the first half of Gronk, yes. Okay, this is the second to last game here that we'll do a ride or die pick. San Francisco, 20 implied points. Rams, 24.5 implied points. Pete, I assume you paid attention to the game slating there. So what do you got?
Yeah, is this Sunday Night Football?
No, this is the last afternoon game.
Oh, wow. Let's see here. I will do
cash game.
Spags, how many rushing yards do you have Trey Lance projected for?
Hold on. You're making, if I'd known I had to update these in advance, I would have put in snap counts and shit instead of just willy-nilly going in here.
Expect anyone to subscribe to your tout site if you don't update your projections throughout the week?
See, this is not even close. Hold on.
No, just say the number and I'll make a decision one way or the other.
23 rushing yards for Trey Lance.
I'll take the over for 1 point.
Okay, fine.
All
Josh, what do you want here? This NFC West battle, maybe NFC West.
So this is just
battle.
about one of the 5 games I actually prepared for. San Francisco's secondary has been abysmal. I think half of it is also on the COVID list still. We know on third downs and in terms of explosive plays, they were one of the worst in the league. I know Van Jefferson hasn't really hit this that often recently, but give me his over on the Pick'em lobby. I think it's 40.5 receiving yards at this time.
Okay.
All right.
Wait, what's the over under on?
Now you're not listening?
No, because I'm replying to Carlos that I don't do my own projections. I've done my own NBA ones for years. Now I'm doing it.
Carlos has had a rough string of shows lately. I've been ignoring him because his comments haven't been very good, but it's nice for you to engage with him. Josh was talking about Van Jefferson.
Oh, okay. So I'll leverage off that one then. Take Cooper Kupp. I won't take his yardage record number. I'll take 200 receiving yards for Cooper Kupp. He's going to smash it.
Cool.
All right. We'll
10, right?
Wow.
10.
Yeah, we'll give you the 10.
Thank you.
I mean, we're powering this. I mean, we're all pretty checked out right now.
It is week 18.
Sunday Night Football. I'm getting us on track.
Yeah.
Chargers, 26.5 implied points. Vegas, 3-point dogs at home for our pal Rich Bisaccia. Pete, I don't even know. We usually do showdown captains for Sunday Night Football. So what do you do for a cash game?
I mean, I'll do the optimal cash captain for that game, and it will be Austin Eckler.
But that's for the cash game showdowns?
No, look, like whether you're playing GPP or cash, you're trying to get the most points in your lineup. Am I correct or not, Spags? That is the goal of this.
Yeah, that's Austin Eckler then. Josh, for Sunday Night Football, Chargers, Raiders, what do you want?
I think Chargers win by more than 9 points in this game. The spread is 3 at the moment. So changing that by 6 here. And it's because, look, Raiders have been beat up by teams throwing down the field because they are like the only team across the league that refuses to move away from cover 1 and cover 3. We've seen it against the Chiefs. We saw it like in week 4 against the Chargers here. So if you give Justin Herbert some one-on-ones on the outside, he's going to throw some missiles down the field. So I expect Herbert to have a massive day and the Chargers to have a massive day and lock it up, if only for our entertainment here in the wild card round of the playoffs, because I definitely don't want to see the Las Vegas Raiders in round 1.
All right. Yeah. And I will take then, I guess I'm going to have to go against that. I will take that. Is it actually a 10-pointer, Pete? If this game were to go, it has a 50-point line in the books. If this went over 60, is that a 10-pointer?
Over 60? It's probably technically like a 7-pointer, but I want to give you a chance. Yeah, I'll give it to you. Yeah. I mean, Josh, do you have a take on the great potential of these guys kneeling it down to both make the playoffs?
I mean, would be incredible television. For that to happen, the Jaguars have to beat the Colts, correct? And then both of these teams have to get in, or can get in, if they just kneel it out throughout the whole time. For one, Brandon Staley we'd fall in love even more if that happened, right?
You know what you guys need to do, Josh, on Underdog? If that happens and the Colts lose, you guys should release like a kneel down line for both because what if normally like a kneel down for a winning team would be what, like 3 kneel downs maybe?
My only fear is, like, look, if John Gruden was still coaching this team, this would not happen. Like, John Gruden would never, ever, ever stand for that, right? But do we even know who Rich Bisaccia is? Like, if I asked you one thing
his name
about
for the first time.
Exactly. Like, we have no clue who this guy is, and he's coached half the season for the Raiders. So I feel like Staley would do it because that's like plus EV. But Bisaccia is like a former special teams dude, and I don't think it's in his DNA to do it.
At Edge Sports, the company, one of the subsidiaries of the company I work for, they've been doing the coach rankings things. And Bisaccia, I think, is like a 50-50% guy, like where he sometimes is going forward on 4th downs where like, oh, it's analytically sound, and then sometimes punting it in ways where, so like, I literally have no clue what he would do, but I feel like it'd probably be run the ball 50 times.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. So that's it. So that's the Sunday Night Football game. I'm rooting for chaos. Josh, there's no chaos over at Underdog. Just fun times with your friends, doing best ball drafts, picking some lines, doing really legal betting, or, a form of betting in states where you can't legally bet, which I think is one of the assets as well. So whatever else you want to say about Underdog to give people the plug, please feel free.
Yeah, I didn't talk about it enough. Pete is not allowed to take Jonathan Taylor for the 50x boosted pick'em slip this weekend. All of you who did not participate in the Josh Allen one a couple weeks ago, again, pretty easy. Turn $10 into $500. A 50x pick'em slip if you just use that boosted over or under on his rushing yards. Yes, that's what it is. You can see it.
Free
at the top
promo
of the
code Pete. Remove the Underdog shackles from my hands, Josh.
That works too. At the very least, use promo code Pete.
Josh Norris as well for all the content you're doing. Anything in particular you want to mention that Underdog's working on content-wise for football down the stretch?
No, just go and subscribe to the YouTube channel Underdog Fantasy. We'd really appreciate it.
All right, Pete, what do you want to say here? What's this show schedule coming up? You got anything else, or are you done for the day?
No, I need a break. I need to go be attentive to people who are talking to me in my life and make sure that they are speaking their truth and I am acknowledging it. I'm probably going to go snowblow a little more. I'll be back on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. to reveal my cash game shell.
Can't wait.
So follow
Chase
at
Claypool.
Peter Overzet, follow at Josh Norris, follow at Chris Bags, and follow at Splash Play Pod, where we are, in fact, following you back on there. And you can keep up with all the shows that we'll be doing, which include next week, 3 shows a week still, Monday, Thursday, Friday, 2:30 Eastern. So come hang out with us then and hit the like button before you go as well. Enjoy your weekends. See you soon.